I'm Michael Romoser. Welcome to another installation of the Publishers Series from Seattle Business Magazine. Today we're talking about employee benefits and how middle market companies in Washington and Oregon can be more competitive in attracting top talent while coping with rising health plan costs. With us today is employee benefits expert Gary Alton, managing partner of the Partners Group, a company that's been helping employers in the Northwest solve their human resource needs for over 30 years. We're going to speak with Gary today about what companies can do to save on rising healthcare costs, create long-term health plan stability, and attract a top-tier workforce. Welcome, Gary.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
We've talked about three different trends, three key areas that I want to speak with our audience today about, and those are self-funded options, pharmacy benefit programs, and wellness programs. You've got expertise in all three of these. So let's start with the first one, Gary. What are the trends? Why are employers moving in a direction of self-funded options?
You bet. Well, as from an employer perspective, typically the health care plan is the second biggest item in their HR budget next to payroll. And so that's getting more and more focus as those costs continue to rise. And I think a lot of employers are frustrated. They're faced with some tough choices. Do I pass on more cost to my employees? Do I decrease benefits? Or as a company, do we simply absorb the cost increases that are hitting them year after year? And I think really employers are looking for other options out in the marketplace. What can I do to understand and control my healthcare spend better? I think a real key aspect of self-funded plans is it gives employers access to their data. It really helps them better understand what are the cost drivers behind their plan. So when you think about what am I paying for administration, what am I paying for stop-loss insurance, what is really driving my medical claims, and what's driving my pharmacy spend, all of those things open up in a self-funded plan because those employers have access to the data, and again, it helps them understand what is driving their costs, and really more importantly, are there things that they can take action on to improve their healthcare spend in the future. Another aspect that is fueling this movement towards self-funded is the marketplace has really moved towards employers, giving them a lot more options. Traditionally, you've been able to have third-party administrators handle the administration of the plans. Now more insurance carriers are offering self-funded programs, and even for smaller employers, all the way down to 50 lives, we're seeing more options out there with bundled self-funded programs and also captive solutions. All of these options are giving employers more choice in the marketplace beyond just the insured marketplace. Really, at the end of the day, employers are looking to take more control over their healthcare spend, really understand the cost drivers, and look for options to control their healthcare spend in the future.
Excellent. Let's move on to number two, pharmacy benefit management programs. Why are PBMs getting more and more attention these days?
Well, what we find is that typically out of healthcare spend, about 20% is spent on pharmacy. And one of the big challenges today is that number is increasing substantially. It's actually the fastest growing component of healthcare plans today. And there's a lot of different drivers that we're seeing in the marketplace, but one of the biggest is specialty medications. And these are the new bioinjectable drugs that are coming out of the marketplace that are having amazing results, but at the same time, they're incredibly expensive. An example would be Harvoni, which is the latest hepatitis C medication. And this medication usually takes 2 to 3 months as far as a treatment regimen, and it's usually about $30,000 a month. So from an employer perspective, $60,000 to $90,000 over a 3-month period of time is a huge spend. Again, remarkable results, but definitely has a big impact on the health plan.
So Gary, when you're working with employers then on the pharmacy piece, what typically is a recommendation of yours regarding their pharmacy benefit plan?
So with pharmacy benefit management programs, it's really important to have that analysis done every couple years just to make sure you are getting the best options out there, the best pricing available. Because really what a lot of employers, even larger employers, are surprised to find is that there's a lot of margin involved in the pharmacy programs, and a lot of times that margin is being retained by the TPA or the insurance carrier, and really it should be flowing to the employer who's actually paying the claims.
Now let's move on to wellness programs. If I'm an HR executive or even the CEO of a 650-person company that's invested resources into a wellness program, I'm wondering about the ROI and whether we should continue. What are the trends you're seeing about for middle market companies, say from 100 to 1,000 lives, as you put it? What about wellness programs and their ROI?
Yeah, no, that's one of the big challenges out there in the wellness space right now. How can you measure success? And I think that really, for a CEO or a CFO, that is one of their biggest questions. And the challenge is that they know intuitively that if their employees are healthier, they're going to be happier, they're going to be more productive, and ultimately it's going to reduce their healthcare spend. The challenge is, how do you measure that? And that's really where, when we talk about wellness at the Partners Group, it's more about a very focused wellness strategy. And really, there's three key components to any wellness plan. Number one, you want to have a supportive employer and a willing employer. Two is you want to have an engaged employee. And number three, you need to have a program that is really focused. And when we talk about focus, it's really getting down to who are the individuals we can take action on and help improve their health that will actually show that ROI that those CFOs and CEOs are looking for. So Michael, let me give you an example about a wellness program that has a more focused effort. When you really break down the costs in a healthcare plan, the 80-20 rule is alive and well. So we see about 20% of the population actually driving 80% of the spend. And when you dive even deeper into that, you're finding about 5% of the membership is actually driving almost 50% of the healthcare spend. And so when you look at those individuals, what is the typical response is, okay, those are our large claims. What are we doing to manage those large claims? And unfortunately, that's the old paradigm. A lot of employers and health plans are focused on the people that have already spent a lot of money, and that is a challenge out there. What we're looking to do is saying, who is our next 5%? Who are going to be the big healthcare spenders next year, and what can we do now to help control those costs to avoid that big spend in the future?
So what about those analytics, Gary? Are those numbers pointing then to an ROI that the CEO of that 650-person company is going to like?
Yes, really what we've seen out there, when you do have the data, and we look at employers that take a more focused clinical approach based on that data, employers are starting to see improvements in absenteeism, presenteeism, or productivity, and ultimately they're seeing lower healthcare spend.
Well, thanks, Gary. This has been great. I know I've learned a lot, and I hope our audience has too. We've talked about self-funded options. We've talked about the pharmacy spend. We've talked about the ROI effectiveness of wellness plans. In closing, for our middle market employers out there, as they think about healthcare insurance specifically, any parting words of what they should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, really, there's a lot of trends out there. We've hit some of the key ones today. I think other things that employers are going to start to see is high-performing networks, accountable care organizations, value-based plan designs. There's a lot of multiple strategies that employers can employ, and it just takes time to implement. One of the things that I would encourage for any employer in that 100 to 1,000 life space is, if you are fully insured, to have someone do a self-funded analysis. I think that will really provide another critical data point for those CFOs and CEOs and HR managers to make valid decisions about the future of the healthcare spend.
Excellent. Gary Alton of the Partners Group, thank you so much.
Thank
Until
you.
next time, this has been another from the Publishers series at Seattle Business Magazine.